What's happening, Cowboys fans? I'm your host, Rome, and you are watching Cowboys Daily. As you all know, we are in sort of a dead zone right now. Not much going on with the team until the end of the month, because that's when training camp starts. It all begins on July 29th when the Cowboys kick off the start of their training camp in Oxnard, California. Just to note, this camp will mark the 20th time they've had their training camp there at the River Ridge playing fields. Remember, if you're interested in checking out the boys in training camp, they will be holding 9 open practices where you can spectate for free. Seating and space will be limited to a first-come basis, so head down there and help support the team. There will also be performances by the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, musical performances, trivia and costume contests. You may even have a chance to meet a Cowboys legend or two. It should make for a great fan experience. Anyways, back to the show. But before I get to it, just a quick shout out to the folks at FanArch for putting this show together. Check them out at fanarch.com, your source for daily fan-driven media. All right, to start us off, we all know and love Dak Prescott, our quarterback, and he deserves every accolade that's been given to him. Well, he just received another distinction. According to Pro Football Focus, or PFF for short, Dak Prescott was the most clutch quarterback of the 2025 season. When the game was on the line and it mattered the most, he graded an impressive 87.8 passing grade, the highest mark of all eligible quarterbacks last year, in addition earning a positive rating on 32% of snaps. That is great for him and really shows how much work he's put into his game and the trust he has in his teammates. But as football fans, we all know none of that really matters in the end. All that matters is what happens in the postseason. That's where quarterbacks are judged and where the great ones are made, which is why many have labeled Dak as one of the greatest ever regular season quarterbacks. And one of his biggest competitors in that contest is his own predecessor, Tony Romo. But when we look at history of the history of the NFL, there are some great names who were in the same boat as the two Cowboys quarterbacks. Dan Marino, Dan Fouts, Fran Tarkenton. That's some good company to keep. But as we all know, Cowboys quarterbacks are held to a different standard. But congratulations, Dak. You deserve it. You also deserve to win a championship. Now go out and get it. Overall, this has been a relatively quiet offseason for the team. Not a lot of drama off or on the practice field so far, which is great to hear. It gets tiring hearing all the chatter coming from the pundits and the media talking heads about the team, but not so much this time around. Some players, too, have been pretty quiet as well. Whether they're the ones not talking or no one is talking about them, we let one of the biggest talkers and media attention getters go last season, and that really has changed the atmosphere surrounding the team. I get a sense of it's all business now, and this has been the most serious the team has been in a while. Even when drama was right on the doorstep, players, coaches, and even the front office did their best to try and squash it. And of course, I'm talking about the whole George Pickens situation, but it seems like it's done and everyone has gotten over it. Some names I want to throw out that I feel have been relatively quiet going into during minicamp and OTAs and going into training camp are players like Cavante Turpin, who I haven't been quiet about. As you all know, if you recall on previous shows, I was pretty vocal about how I felt he was going to be traded soon. But he hasn't popped up on much of any of the stories coming out of the Star. And there are players who have been pretty limited in practices so far this offseason. Players like Deron Bland and Malik Hooker haven't been practicing much. Coaches really want to take their time in dealing with whatever injuries they may still be recovering from. And then there's players like Malachi Lawrence. Because of all the buzz surrounding Caleb Downs, Lawrence has become almost like the forgotten man. He too was selected in the first round, just a few spots behind Downs. But his name hasn't been flooding the media waves, unlike Downs, but he likes it that way, he says. Now I want to talk about my most anticipated games this season. And the first thing is that none of them are division games. I feel like division games have become like clockwork the past few years. We split home games with the Eagles. We blow out the Giants in one game and barely win another. And the Commanders are almost the same way. But the anticipation in the division game lies in the players for me. All but the Eagles drafted an Ohio State Buckeye defensive player in the first round of this year's draft, and all are expected to challenge for Defensive Rookie of the Year. So it'll be fun to watch who of those three will make the most impact in the divisional games. And of course, I'm talking about Caleb Downs for the Cowboys, Sonny Styles for the Washington Commanders, and Arvell Reese for the New York Giants. But my top three most anticipated games all happen to be against NFC West teams. Number 3 would be against the Rams, and as we all know, the Rams pulled off the biggest trade so far this offseason, acquiring perennial All-Pro and Defensive Player of the Year Myles Garrett, making it an already impressive playoff team that much more impressive and scary. We play them at the end of the season, so hopefully all the kinks have been worked out on both sides of the ball by then, and of course that everyone is still healthy at that time. I think we have a great shot against them, and to see two of the most high-powered offenses go at it, bet the over on this one. The second most anticipated game for me is against the world champion Seahawks in Seattle. And I'm telling you, this is setting itself up to be just like 2014 when we beat the then reigning champion Seahawks in Seattle, if you remember. It's always a good test and a good way to gauge where the team is at by playing the defending Super Bowl champion. We play them just before the bye, so the team will be tired, and it's a late bye. But I'm sure we'll be fired up to play the champs. Possible game of the year? We'll see. And my most anticipated game of the year of this coming season is, of course, against the San Francisco 49ers. I lived through the heart of that rivalry. To me, there is no other team that I want to beat more than San Francisco, and lately we haven't been able to do that. Can the team do it this year? We'll be at home, but will that help? It hasn't helped before. Who got the better deal in the trade between the two of us? Them with Osa or us with D? Really, I could have added the fourth NFC West team to this list as well, and we all know our history with the Cards. They could literally run out a team of backups on game day and still whoop our butts. That's just how it goes with that team. But this year, I fully expect that streak to come crashing down. And finally, I'm putting together my all-time greatest Cowboys team. I went with all-time because some of the greatest players were on the team before I even became a fan. So let's start with the defense, and the secondary on the outside would have to be Dion on one side and Mel Renfro on the other. Between the two of them, you have 4 Super Bowl wins, 12 All-Pro seasons, and 18 Pro Bowls. The two safeties would, of course, be Darren Woodson and Cliff Harris, the technical and versatile defender, and the guy called Captain Crush for his big hits and his relentless motor. 5 Super Bowls, 8 All-Pros, and 11 Pro Bowls between the two of them. Here's hoping Caleb Downs makes it onto someone's all-time greatest list in 30 years. Deciding on the linebackers was a bit hard. Dallas has had some really good ones in the past, but I'll have to go with DeMarcus Ware and Chuck Howley as the outside linebackers. There are a few others I could have gone with, but these two are the best. In the middle also could have gone different ways, but Leroy Jordan is the correct call here. Jordan was the leader of the famed Doomsday defense and set the tone for the defense, for those defenses for 14 seasons. On the defensive line, there's no denying that the two that belong in the middle are Randy the Manster White and Bob Lilly. Sure, there are other great ones, but none as great as those two. On the outside at the ends, I could have put DeMarcus Ware here as well, but seeing he played in a 3-4 defense, linebacker was his more natural position. So I went with Big Harvey Martin and Crazy Charles Haley, the two most impactful pass rushers on the team of their respective eras. It really is a shame Martin still hasn't been inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So there you have it, my greatest of all time Dallas Cowboys defense. If I get the chance to, I'll present my greatest all-time Dallas Cowboys offense in a future show. Thanks for watching, everyone. I appreciate everyone that has been watching me and this channel for the past few months. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you all around.